All right, y'all, we need to talk. J.J. Jackson, the Walker County deputy I've already done a story on, decided to come into my inbox and send me multiple messages. Now, normally I would just ignore something like this, but what he said in these messages is so shocking, so self-incriminating, that I have no choice but to put it all out there for everyone to see. And yes, you will see the actual messages on your screen as I read them. They will all be right down here. This isn't me twisting his words. This is him in his own words. There's no exaggeration, no adding or taking away here. Now, first, let's start with the most serious part. In one of his messages, Jackson tries to defend himself for unaliving Earl Height Jr., a mentally ill man in Walker County who was unarmed in a bathrobe in the middle of a mental health episode. Now, that is what I did the previous video, a podcast on Jackson, is about this specific incident. Now, remember, Jackson shot and unalived Height Jr. inside his own home after his parents called 911 for help. Not an execution. Now, this is the message that we're going to be reading from right now. It says, "Hey, Baker, for a former officer, I can't believe you critique me and you don't know the whole situation. The video that is out there only shows the second half of the incident. The reason I got cleared is because SBI received the whole video from Height's dad. When I walked inside the house with Dad, Son was in the kitchen. Son ran toward a bedroom and I told him to stop. I tried to calm him down and the young man told me twice, if you don't get the F out of here, there's going to be blood in here tonight. I told him it didn't take all that and let me help you. Son then proceeded in the kitchen and grabbed a poker and went after his dad. I stepped in between them with no weapon drawn and told him to stop. Son then ran around the island in the kitchen and came back with a poker. I pulled my pew-pew, my weapon, then I told him to drop the poker. He dropped the poker, and that's when I engaged him. As a police, you should know, I don't know what's inside his house, like another weapon, etc. I then took him to the ground, and you see the video of the rest. I'm not no freaking 400 pounds. You don't know the whole story. Get your facts straight. Don't slander me if you wasn't there. Now, here is the part, and I've just put it up and highlighted. SBI and the DA would have locked me up if I shot him on purpose. That is quote, J.J. Jackson, word for word. SBI and the DA would have locked me up if I shot him on purpose. Now, let that sink in. Those are his words, not mine. He literally admits right here that the shooting was not on purpose, which means what? It was an accident. That is an accidental confession to wrongfully unaliving Height Jr. He wasn't fearing for his life. He wasn't under attack. He pulled that trigger by accident and unalived a man in the middle of a mental health crisis. He sent me these messages. JJ is obviously a lot like his sheriff, Nick Smith, and not very smart at all in law enforcement. If you admit that, that is definitely grounds for investigation, termination, and even charges. Yet here he is, sitting comfortably, messaging me like it's no big deal. You can't take back a statement like that once it's out there. Now, as if that wasn't enough, Jackson also tried to defend himself for unaliving the goat. Yes, the goat. And in his own words, once again, he exposes himself. Here is the message that we're going to be talking about right now. So he says, the goat didn't scare me. And then again, at the bottom, I have highlighted, I'm not scared of a freaking goat. Never have been. Well, if you weren't scared of it, then why did you shoot it? What possible justification is there for shooting and unaliving an animal or a person you openly admit you weren't threatened by? That is cruelty, plain and simple. And once again, not my spin, his own words. You couldn't make this up if you tried. Now, it keeps going. So next, let's talk about his obsession with other people who dare to speak out against him. In one message, Jackson flat out state that the reason he recently got voted in as city councilman is because of another content creator that a lot of you are familiar with, Kimmy Kitten. He says that he won that election in a landslide just because Kimmy Kitten's been speaking out against him. Now, here's the message. Now, think about that. He is saying people only voted for him out of spite against someone who exposed him. Now, we all know that's just simply not true. Anyway, this gets a lot worse with Kimmy Kitten. You can read this right here. He admits that he picked up the phone and called her boss at her job, trying to get her fired. That's what we call intimidation. That's harassment. That is 100% abuse of influence. 100%. It shows exactly the type of man that we're dealing with. Someone who can't handle criticism, so he tries to destroy people's livelihoods. Now, luckily and thankfully, Kimmy still has her job because I think her bosses understand what we are dealing with here. But he's not ashamed of it. Openly admits, just because someone spoke out against him, someone that he was running for a local office, you're going to get criticized, and he's in law enforcement and has previously said some really, really terrible, unprofessional things about Kimmy Kitten. That's why she spoke out against him. That's all. She pointed out what he had said to her in public for everybody to see. He's a very unprofessional man on top of everything else. Now, finally, the last thing that we're going to discuss as far as these messages, and put it here, Jackson says that the more I speak out against him and his sheriff, Nick Smith, the more votes they get. Now, let me be clear. That's absolute nonsense. That is desperation talking. They know their record is bad. They know people are waking up. So now he's trying to spin it and act like criticism is helping them. But you don't brag about getting more votes from being exposed unless you're covering up for weakness. If anything, these messages show fear, not strength. And they show that he's not very smart to send me these messages stating the things he did. Because I'm telling y'all, that about Height Jr. and him admitting that was an accident, y'all, that this is extremely serious. This is much bigger than just J.J. Jackson. This is about accountability, about how people in power think they can get away with anything, especially these people in Walker County. I mean, we see this time and time and time again. Even their own words betray them. And thanks to these messages, the mask is completely because J.J. Jackson has exposed himself. And I'm not going to stop until people like him are held accountable. He has to be held accountable for this now. Somebody has to take a deep look into this. Share this video. Show people the truth. Because if we don't start holding them accountable, this is going to keep and continue happening. And more families are going to lose loved ones the way Height Jr.'s family did. Enough is enough. And as I stated in my last video about Mr. J.J. Jackson, he is now a school resource officer in Walker County, walking and patrolling the halls of a school with kids. And he openly admits right here that he accidentally shot Frederick Height Jr., that it was an accident, that he didn't purposely pull the trigger. Again, this is all his own words. Y'all see, I'm not spinning this in any way whatsoever. I don't have to. Another thing, and like I said, one thing that him and his boss, Nick Smith, definitely have in common is they are not very bright. And their mouths, they are so full of themselves and have gotten away with so much for so long, they don't even care to say the truth, even when they know it's going to get them in trouble, because they don't think they're actually going to get in trouble. Well, something better be done about this. We have an active, current, sworn deputy sheriff in Walker County that unalived a man and has now openly admitted that he pulled the trigger by accident. Please share this video as much as possible. Share it, repost it, send it to everybody you know. We have got to bring as much awareness to all this as possible. Something has to be done.